Problem 5 is 0.24. I'm going to check some of the places the same way I did with the fractions. First, I'm going to check in front of my decimal. 0. That means I don't need anything in front of the fraction. Then I check how many place values they used. 1, 2. They used the tenths and the hundredths. Since they had to use both place values, my denominator is 100. If they only use one place value, then it's 10. And the last thing is I look, what number did they put after the decimal? 24. 24 is going to be my numerator. So if I want a fraction that will match this decimal, I need to have 24 out of 100. Problem 6, again, gives me a decimal, wants me to give them a fraction. I'm going to check the exact same places. First, what do I have in front of my decimal? I've got a 1. So that means I need to have a 1 in front of the fraction. I'm going to write a number 1. And behind the number 1, I'm going to put my fraction. Then I'm going to see how many place values they used. Tenth, hundredth. Since they had to use the hundredth, my denominator is 100. And finally, what number is after the decimal? The number after the decimal is 18. 18 is my numerator. 1 and 18 out of 100. Problem 7. I look in front of the decimal. It's a 0. There's no numbers in front of my fraction. I check the place values. Tenth, hundredth. Since they had to use the hundredth, my denominator is 100. And then I look at the number after the decimal. 0.6. If there's a 0 in front, I don't have to write it. My numerator would just be 6. 6 out of 100. Problem 8, I want you to try, and then we'll check that together. In front of the decimal, I have the number 3. That means I need to also have the number 3 in front of my fraction. Behind the decimal, I only have one place value, the 10th. So my denominator needs to be 10. Digit, the number I have behind the decimal, is a 7. So my numerator has to be 7. My answer would be 3 and 7 out of 10. So when they start you with decimals, you're still checking 3 places. First one, the one I always start with, is there anything in front of that decimal? Anything in front of that decimal goes in front of the fraction. Then check the place values after the decimal. If there's only one place value, your denominator is 10. If there's two place values, your denominator is 100. The last thing you check is what number is behind the decimal. Whatever number is behind the decimal, that is your numerator. We're going to flip the page and go on to the next pair of problems here. Mr. Garza used 3/10 of a gallon of paint on a swing, 4/10 of the same gallon of paint on a bench, and the rest of the gallon of paint on a bird feeder. Okay. I only really have my pencil. I don't have a bunch of different colors. So what I'm going to do, instead of shading all these in, is I'm just going to label them. Mr. Garza used 3/10 of a gallon of paint on a swing. So there's 10 pieces here. I'm going to put an S on 3 of them so that I have 3/10. So SSS, or swing, swing, swing. 4/10 of the same gallon, so I don't need a whole new model, it's the same model. 4/10 of the same gallon of paint on a bench. I'm going to put B for bench, B, 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 B. 4 of it. And the rest of the gallon of paint for a bird feeder. Well, I can't use B because I used that one. So I'm going to use F for feeder. So there's all of his paint. Some for the swing, some for the bench, and some for the bird feeder. Shade the model to represent how much paint he used on the swing and the bench. Okay, well, we did that. Then write the fraction and decimal for the amount of paint he used on the bird feeder. So they want us to focus on the bird feeder. So let's do that. How many pieces, or how many tenths of that gallon of paint did he use for the bird feeder? How many pieces did we mark with an F? Violet?
3.
3. So if I was going to write that as a fraction, Violet, what would my fraction be?
Your fraction would be 10.
Where, for the numerator or denominator?
Denominator.
Okay.
And 3 for the top.
Okay, for the numerator. Very good, Violet. So I've got my fraction, 3 out of 10. I need to change that fraction into a decimal. There's no number in front of this fraction, so it's going to start with 0. Who can tell me what the rest of that fraction should be? 0 point what? Kylie?
3.
0.3. My denominator is 10, so it's just one place value. And my numerator is 3. Just a 3. So the fraction for the bird feeder would be 3/10. The decimal for the bird feeder would be 0. The models are shaded to represent 4 different fractions. They're very nice on this problem because they went ahead and they labeled the fractions for us. So this fraction is 24 out of 100. This fraction is 3 out of 10. This fraction is 41 out of 100. And this fraction is 5 out of 10. Which decimal is represented by one of these models? Here's where the tricky part comes in. The decimal we're looking for could be any one of these. So I need to change them all to decimals to see if any of them match one of my answer choices. Okay, good thing. If I take a look at all of my fractions here, none of them have any numbers in front of the fraction, which means all of my decimals should start with 0. Let's start with this one because it comes first. Since they put the fractions on the bottom, I'm going to put my decimals on top. 0 decimal. I'm going to go ahead and start my other ones. So all of them are 0 decimal something. For the first model, 24 out of 100. Who can tell me what decimal do you think would match that fraction? What decimal would match? Bailey, what do you think? Let's see, is she frozen? Bailey. There we go.
Could you repeat the question?
What decimal would match the fraction 24 out of 100? How would I write this as a decimal?
I can hear. I'm just trying to think right now.
That's all right. Let's go step by step. What's my denominator?
The 100?
Okay. So the 100 tells me that I should use the 10th place and the 100th place. What's my numerator?
24.
24. So that's the number that needs to go behind my decimal. Since I have 2 place values, all I have to do is put them in the correct order. 2, 4. So my decimal should be 0.24.
Okay.
So Bailey, do I have an answer choice that matches that decimal?
No.
No. So I know that whatever answer choice I need to pick is not going to match my first model. Well, I can check the other models. I have other models to look at. Do the next one. 3 out of 10. Who can help me out with this one? How would I change 3 out of 10 to a decimal? Kylie?
It'd be 0.3.
Very good. My denominator is 10, so I just have one place value. And since there's a 3 for my numerator, it's just a 3. 0.3. Kylie, do I see any answer choices that match that decimal?
Yes.
Which one?
Answer choice J.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to keep my eyes on this one. What about the third model? Who can help me change the third model into a decimal? They give me the fraction 41 out of 100. I want a decimal. What would it be? Kaylee?
41 goes behind the decimal.
Okay, so it would be 0.41. Got the 100 as my denominator, so I know that there's two place values. And the good thing is I have two digits. Haley, do I have any answer choices that match that decimal?
No.
No. So they don't match that. We've got one last one. 5 out of 10. Ezekiel, help me with this one. 5 out of 10. What decimal would match 5 out of 10? How would I write this fraction as a decimal?
0.5.
Ooh, very good, Ezekiel. Good job. My denominator is a 10, so there's only one place value, which is good because I only have one digit as my numerator. 0.5. Ezekiel, do you see any decimals that match the one I have here? Do any of my answer choices match?
No.
No. They don't match the last model either. The good thing is I did find one that does match. Answer choice J. It matched my second model. So my answer is answer choice J.